Hi everyone in English 1301, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 3 instructional video. It's been a week. Um, I've been dealing with several book access issues. Not as much for this course as for my British literature course, but I have the feeling that that may change this week since we are actually starting to use our course text and read from that this week. So to start us off, I really want to make sure that before you try anything with the book to access it through D2L, which you should be able to do if you purchase the Star Bundle, make sure you're using Chrome and make sure you are clearing your browsing data. If you don't know how to do that, just Google it. It's quick, but for some reason, D2L, I just was working on my work laptop earlier today and I used it yesterday. I only accessed D2L and my email, and I had to clear that browsing data to make D2L function properly. So just take my word for it. Make sure you're clearing your browsing data so that when you go to the content area and to the book and additional readings module, you have the book access right here. So if you click on this, you should see this. Okay, this is our course text. It should say connected to LMS. You should not have to click and purchase anything. You should not have to do anything. If you scroll down and you're not seeing any of this, then it's time to reach out to me. I would say the first bet is to connect directly with Norton, but I need to know if you're having these issues so that I've been connecting directly with Norton as well with the other course to get student access, and we want to get that done as soon as possible, so make sure you're trying this as soon as you're able. So when you go into the book, it's set up by all the chapters. We are reading chapter 4, so if you click on that, it will take you to our chapter on language, power, and rhetoric. This is what it should look like. Okay, so it's fairly straightforward. You can play around with some of the tools and information that's here. Yours is going to look a little different from mine because I have the instructor content, right? So if you scroll down, it starts off with a quote by Gloria Anzaldúa, one of my all-time favorite authors. That's a picture of her here. So this whole chapter is about the importance of language. What power does language hold? Historically, currently, it's looking into, words matter, right? So we are, trying in this course to write our ideas effectively, and we have to really consider the power of the language that we use. So if you keep scrolling down, this is going into detail about rhetorical situations, authorial choices when it comes to, choosing that language. And then at the bottom, you'll see next chapter 5. So we don't have to go into that. We are just focusing primarily on this chapter. If you need to move in and out of the course text, and remember, everything that's highlighted will give you more information, which I think the electronic version of our course text was really done very well. So I'm glad that we all are able to access it, or at least hopefully. So if you click table of contents here, this is how you move through different areas. You can click over on the arrow and go in more specifically. So just play around, click in and out. So that's our course text, right? So let's go to see what we need to do this week. So for week 3, we have the reading on language, power, and rhetoric. And we also have a video that I'd like you to watch. It's a TED Talk by Ron Finley, which is always a winner when it comes to students. I love it. Students love it. He is approachable. He is talking about important things associated with, food, which is our overall theme for the course. So you'll want to watch the weekly instructional video. It says supplemental video, but you don't have one. I'll go ahead and delete that. There is a food journal video because we are adding to our food journal here at the bottom. You have a discussion post and, as always, the participation quiz or the weekly quiz. Okay, so you have the option to respond to 2 of your colleagues. It is not required this week. That's noted by the plus signs before and after the points. If you scroll down, make use of that Q&A discussion board. I'm so thrilled that y'all have used that so much already in the course, because all the issues with the book, it's so helpful for your colleagues to see that, you know, they're not the only ones dealing with this, and we're going back and forth. And of course, you can sense my frustration, and I can sense your frustration about some of the issues that we've had. So hopefully we're kind of getting into the tail end of those. There is a video about the food journal. So we started with a really basic kind of food journal about comfort food. You know, we didn't have, you know, strict guidelines and expectations, but we're now kind of advancing into more set guidelines and expectations, and this video covers those details, and this is the handout associated with the assignment. All right, so if we go to the week 3 discussion, that's the first thing that's due. I try to put everything in order. The quiz should be there as well, but anyhow, after reading our chapter, I want you to consider the following, and it's taken directly from our course text. I want you to compose 2 to 3 full paragraphs, and you'll want to reference the course text directly. And I say you can give Lunsford credit. She is the kind of main editor of our course text, and I'm fine with that. I know what you're quoting, so Lunsford, you know, I can find the specific editor or author of the statement, but just credit Lunsford, that's fine with me. So Professor of Anthropology and African American Studies, H. Sami Alim, poses 2 questions in the chapter that we're reading. How can language be used to maintain, reinforce, and perpetuate existing power relations? And conversely, how can language be used to resist, redefine, and possibly reverse these relations? So it's really looking at how, you know, not only the chapter outlines the power of language, but how we are seeing that in our own experiences. I don't want summary. I don't want you to summarize what you've read in the text. I want you to relate it to your own experiences. Whether you've seen other folks using the power of language, or through, you know, whether they're using it to resist, or whether you're seeing people use it to maintain, whatever it is in your experiences. All right. Remember to use your name as the subject and pronouns if you choose. And of course, edit your work, download Grammarly, use all the tools available to you, except ChatGPT. Don't be using stuff to write for you, right? So this is really pushing you to think about what we've read this week and how it affects us, or how it has affected us. All right, if we go back to the week 3 module, we also have the Food Journal 2 assignment. And I want you to take some time just with the instructions of this, you know, after you watch the Food Journal instructional video and look at those requirements. I want you to think of the food journals as building on previous writing, right? So we are actually taking what we previously submitted, right? We've already submitted that first submission. I want you to look at it with fresh eyes and think about the value of revision. Like, you go in and be your own reviewer. Take a look at your ideas. See if after you've had some time to think it over and are looking with those fresh eyes, are there things that you would change, add, delete? You know, this is taking that step before, you know, a final submission. We should always be setting aside time for revisions and edits, right? So in addition to revising what you previously submitted, so that exact submission, just with your edits, you can add, you can take away, you can do whatever you want to do. But you should already have done that work, right? So part of your work is already done. You're going to add at least 1 paragraph that brings in Ron Finley's ideas in his TED Talk, you know, so how might your previous meal or your food habits relate to Finley's ideas about gardening, fresh food, creating community, generational influences, any connection you see that is personal to you in Finley's talk. So as you're watching Ron Finley's TED Talk, think about how you might relate. If on the surface you think, well, I don't relate at all, you need to dig deeper. Everybody can find something to relate to in this video, right? And it may be that, you know, you don't relate because you don't garden or you don't do that, but you'd like to, or, you know, you are limited with resources or whatever the case may be. So I put everything in like bullet points in bold. So 2 to 3 paragraphs from our previous prompt, right? And if you need a refresher or if you weren't able to submit that on time, the prompt is right here along with the templates. Okay, so you need to do that work now if you haven't already. Adding at least 1 paragraph, you can add more, bringing in Finley's ideas. And you need to connect directly. So this is going to require that you give credit for his ideas. You will not need a works cited because I know the sources you're using. I want you to properly cite Finley with at least 1 quote. And I've given you examples of how to do this with a video. You need a timestamp. This is what's called a timestamp, and how to do this. So you have the option to read transcript, and this is where you can find the specific wording and language for the quote that you'd like to use. Be picky with quotes. Don't just throw quotes in there. Find something that is really connected to what you are seeing in Finley's work that relates to you and your food experiences. Make sure you're using MLA guidelines. Just use the template, right? And then you upload your document in one of these 3 forms in the assignments folder. Do not, if you use a Mac, I use a Mac, but I use Microsoft Word so I can upload in this format. Do not use Pages. It will not recognize Pages. I can't grade what I can't see, right, in terms of your work. So, okay. Just take some time and let these ideas marinate. Go back to that food journal video, read these instructions again, and if you are still kind of thrown, then by all means post in the Q&A discussion board area, because you're not the only one who might have questions. All right, so we also have the quiz, which for some reason is not visible, but I'll make sure it is. There is the checklist here as well. And remember, this checklist is just a tool for you. It doesn't mean anything if you click this, right? Like, it doesn't mean that you've submitted anything, but it gives you a sense of, okay, I watched these and I reviewed the guidelines, you know, so I am 50% done with what, you know, is a task for this week. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And of course, the quiz is going to be based on the readings. It's going to be based on Finley's TED Talk. It's going to be based on the food journal video. It's going to be based on this video. So just make sure that you don't go into the quiz without all your ducks in a row, all the information. You can take it as many times as you need to, but that's ultimately a waste of time if you are going in without doing any of the work, right? So don't waste your own time. Time is so valuable. I know y'all are busy, you have a lot on your plate, so make sure you're using your time wisely. All right, if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can do so through the Q&A discussion board. You can email me directly, or you can go to the collaboration link up here and click on WebEx to book an appointment during office hours. So if you click on appointment booking here, you'll see the different times and availability for those meetings. If those meeting times don't work with you, just shoot me an email and we can set up an alternate time to discuss, or you can use the Remind app. So if you go to Student Success, there's the Remind app, or you can look at last week's module, which also has the information. So just let me know. I'll get back to you as soon as I can with the Remind app if it's during, you know, regular working hours. All right, so good luck this week. Let me know what you need. And again, immediately check to see if you have access to the book. All right, take care, everyone.